Well, here we are, 12th of April 2024, and I don't think I've made a video for about 5 or 6 years. But here we are again. This will be a short video just to start easing my way back into things, because I do have a few things planned over the next year or two, or certainly over the next year anyway. Apparently I've made 102 videos. I started in 2008, and since then I've posted 102 videos, almost all taken either in boatyards building boats or at sea sailing, either Mingming 1 or Mingming 2. But there's been a long hiatus, and I thought I would just give a very brief description of what I've been doing during the 5 or 6 years I haven't been posting, and then look ahead maybe a little bit. So I've been very busy on my craft. I live up here beside Loch Carron, on the north side of Loch Carron, up in the Highlands, with an absolutely amazing view from here. Looking down, my land goes right down to the edge of the loch. At some point I'll maybe share some video of that. But the first thing I'll be doing in the meantime is writing a very short book, which is now out, called Travels Through a Window, which is my 6th book, and which basically describes a whole year spent at my writing desk looking through the window, looking at what's going on outside, the mountains, the loch, the sky, the wildlife, and my various reactions to all of this over a protracted period of time. So, for those of you who've enjoyed the sailing books, although this is not specifically about sailing, it does follow on very much with the same mindset. It's much more condensed than the sailing books. As I say, it's quite brief. It's 92 pages long, but very, very concentrated. So that's the first project that I've been working on in the meantime. The second one, which is much, much bigger, is translation project. As some of you may know, I do translate. I have translated professionally from French to English. I also translate from Russian to English. And about 10, in fact 11 years ago now, almost exactly, when I was in Concarneau in Brittany at the Festival Livre et Mer, where my book, or the French edition of my book, Mingming and the Art of Minimal Ocean Sailing, had won the main prize there, the Prix Henri Kefelec. I met a very interesting French author, Gautier, and I bought his books and I read them in French, long books, 3 of them, although they're now condensed to 2 volumes. And I decided almost immediately that I would translate them into English because I thought they were fantastic. So these books are now out. The Adventures of Laforest-Dombourg, Volume 1, and The Adventures of Laforest-Dombourg, Volume 2. I'm going to talk about more about these books specifically in future videos, but basically it's historical maritime fiction set in the 18th century, mainly around the French Navy prior to the French Revolution in the time of Louis XVI. And it's another period when the French were very much engaged in maritime warfare with the English all around the world, especially India, in America, where the French were supporting the American insurgents in the War of Independence. It was a very, very interesting period where the French and the English were struggling via naval power to establish their supremacy both in North America, Canada, the West Indies, India, and so on. And these are fantastic books that do with that period from a French perspective. We have so many books written from an English perspective, particularly during the Napoleonic period, but there's very little available from a French perspective. And the writer Gautier is one of these incredibly fastidious historical writers, a bit like O'Brien. Every detail, every historical detail is correct. He does fantastic research so that historically it's very, very precise and reliable. On the other hand, the main character, Laforest-Dombourg, who's very young, initially a cadet in the French Navy, is dealt with very, very sympathetically. He's a very, very endearing young character who very much recalls a young hornblower. So we have O'Brien, and then we have the character of the writing of C.S. Forester and the Hornblower series. It recalls all that in a way, although in my view Laforest-Dombourg is a much more complex character than Hornblower, and the books themselves are much, much darker than the Hornblower books. But then, as you see from the size of them, they're absolutely huge. The 2 volumes of the translation is around about 1,000 pages in total. So you have the incredible scope of Dumas. So it's like reading the Three Musketeers or the Count of Monte Cristo, whatever, the big Dumas novels. So that's not to everybody's taste, but for those of you who like long, involved novels that you can really, really get into and which you can immerse yourself in for days at a time. These are very, very interesting books. I've not really read anything like them. So I've actually spent the last 5 winters or so translating these, and they're now out. But I will talk more about those in future videos, but for anybody who does like maritime fiction, for anybody who likes O'Brien, for anybody who likes Hornblower, for anybody who loves the detail of sailing ships and naval warfare and all that sort of stuff, the O'Brien Master and Commander sort of stuff, and a lot more, because this really takes you into French history in great depth. French 18th century history. For anybody who likes all of that stuff, I highly, highly recommend those books. The other main reason that I'm kind of getting myself back into the videos is because after 5 or 6 years now of non-seagoing, I have been sailing out on the loch in little boats, which I have here, little sailing boats. I do have another project in mind. I have a Mingming 3 in mind. An interesting little project. It's going to be a new building from scratch. I'll be starting very shortly. I have all the materials. I'm ready to go. All I'm waiting for is some warmer weather, because there's quite a lot of epoxy going to be involved. At the moment, the temperatures are just still a little bit on the low side for comfortable epoxying, so I need to wait maybe another 3 or 4 weeks until we've got consistent temperatures in maybe the 11 to 12 degrees centigrade and above. Yeah, there will be Mingming 3. I can say though there won't be any ocean voyages in Mingming 3. It's not a boat which is conceived for ocean sailing. I mean, I have the perfect boat for ocean sailing here, or for my style of ocean sailing, Mingming 2, here still. So Mingming 3 is being built from plans, but plans which inevitably I will modify to my own taste, is a very, very different proposition from the Mingming 1 and Mingming 2, and conceived for a different kind of voyaging and exploration. But I'm not going to say any more about that yet until I actually start the actual construction process and start making a series of construction videos, hopefully commencing in 3 or 4 weeks' time. So there we are. We're back again, and I look forward to a long relationship with my many viewers. Thank you.